Amr here, trying something different, dipping into some hardware reviews, and I'm going to get started with the Brook Wireless Fighting Board PCB. This is a little gadget that can turn your arcade stick wireless. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What exactly is a PCB? PCBs are printed circuit boards. They're basically the brains of a controller. They translate you pushing in a button into whatever the button input is to your respective system. So I actually have one of those, a previous Brook board, right in here. I don't know if you can see it. Right there at the bottom. There's a better look at it on a video I did on this one specifically previously on this channel. Link it in the description. Basically, it's the thing that lets you connect to consoles and does all the functions in hardware for you. Buying one of these is a lot simpler than, say, hacking a PlayStation 4 pad and having to solder all the points to the buttons yourself. So, I built one of these. This is my custom hitbox, and I've been enjoying it. Solid construction, really good case, but it is incredibly heavy. And now this has become a problem because I travel a lot more. I bring it over to my friends' places, and I go to a lot of local fighting game meetups. A little hard to put in my bag, doesn't fit in my smaller bag. I gotta get the bigger, bulkier bag out. And it's really heavy just to bring around and connect the setups. So I thought, why don't I just make a smaller one? And what I came up with is this one. So this is actually the second or third one of these that I've built. This is my other prototype board that you might have seen previously. And that's where I kind of tested out the layout. Basically built one of these because I wanted something lighter, and this one is definitely much lighter. I can just one-hand this one, bring it everywhere, wrap up my cords. But I also don't need to really wrap up those cords because it is now wireless. So let's actually open this up. We'll see the inside of the guts and how exactly everything hooks up. So here we go. Here's the inside of the shell. Right here you can check it out. That is the Brook wireless PCB. It is red. And if you notice on this side, there is a USB adapter plug over here. This one is based on the PlayStation 4 plus audio version of the board, rather than the Universal Fight board, which I have in my Kirby+Mega Man stick. This one actually has a headphone jack that you can plug your headphones into and get audio from. Now, I've tested it on the PlayStation 4, works perfectly, works just like plugging into a DS4. You can also use it on the PC, but only in wired mode. So it'll only transfer through wired mode. You can connect wirelessly to the PC, I've checked it out. There's a few more details on that are a little, that gets into one of my caveats with this board. Normally you can plug into the 5-volt pin over here that will allow you to supply power to, say, LEDs or anything else around here. But that pin will only work if you are plugged in by USB. They will not power on if you use just the wireless board. It'll still connect, it'll still play fine, but you won't get any LEDs or anything like that that you might connect to. That's important because also if you have an optical joystick, such as the Paradise Arcade Magenta, it's not going to work because it requires power to its own PCB, so you're kind of out of luck there. So be careful about that. This is kind of a bigger deal because this one doesn't have any status LEDs. Universal Fight board did have status LEDs just to tell you that the thing is on. There's no way to tell that this is on, and you can't plug in external LEDs to have it powered when it is on. So you have to kind of just make sure that you're careful about powering it on and off. Otherwise, you'll have it in your backpack running out of battery the whole time. Speaking of the battery, there's a little JST connector here. Plugs into this battery, which I have connected to a little piece of plastic and zip tied just to keep it stable. You can also power it using this USB-B port here, and that'll connect to kind of like a regular USB charger you might use for your phone or something like that. Now, one thing that I do recommend for this board because it does not tell you if it's on or off, is to install one of these over here, which is a lockout switch. Basically, usually you use these for locking out the start, select, and guide button during tournaments so you don't accidentally disqualify yourself. I've only hooked one up to the home button on this side over here, which is the power button. So with this off, I will not be able to access the guide button, which means I cannot power on the unit. It makes it useful for putting it in your bag and not getting it accidentally connect to other systems or turn on your PS4, which happened to me as I was leaving the other day with this. And you know, I had to install one of those. And then otherwise, basically pretty standard. You can plug into here with your 20 pin, and then over here is the ports that go into your USB. Otherwise, we're gonna close this up and we're gonna do some tests on it just to show you that this thing is working on a whole bunch of different things. Back at our favorite controller testing station, we're here with our Switch again because this, of course, does have Switch compatibility as well as PS4 and PC. So what we're going to do is first make sure that our Switch is turned to the on position, and we're going to hold down the first kick button, which is the X button, I believe, and hit the power. And that'll let us turn on. And what we need to do is power this up. And now you can see it is connected to the Switch. We're all good here, and we can play some Taiko no Tatsujin. Okay, y'all, I'm going to show you how to connect this thing to a computer wirelessly. You can see right now it is plugged in by USB, and that'll be detected fine normally. What we're going to do is pair it through Bluetooth. Now you will need a Bluetooth receiver or a wireless card that has a Bluetooth receiver in it. Most laptops will be fine with that. If you're using a desktop computer, you can just buy one that's like 10 bucks, or you can use one of these 8-bit retro receivers that connect to pretty much every device. They make a ton of them. These will have the added benefit of not detecting it as a PS4 controller, but rather an X input controller. So you can skip the hassle of using something like a DS4 or the Steam controller support setting. With that said, we're going to unplug it, and you can see, again, LEDs do not work if they are not connected to USB power. So to make sure this gets detected and supported, we're going to connect it as a PS4 controller. We're going to hold down the second punch button, and then we are going to push the home button, which will power it on. And now you can see it's detecting a wireless controller device. We are going to connect through adding to Bluetooth over here. We're going to hit the Bluetooth, and what we want to do is hold down the share button and the home button, and that will put it into wireless pairing mode. And you can do the same thing to connect to an 8-bit retro receiver or anything like that that needs a sync button. You can just hold down the sync button and press it like that, since those are just Bluetooth connectors. And then you can connect it here. Just click that, and then it'll take a little bit and connect. Once you're done with that, it should be good to go. Let's jump into a game and see how it functions. So, as you can see, works perfectly fine. Latency is great. Basically about the same latency of a DS4, it seems like. You can plug it in if you really want to play it wired without that latency, but you know, the wireless is perfectly capable and just as good as any official controller. So, that said, let's move on to my final thoughts. Final thoughts on the Brook wireless fighting board. Pretty happy with it overall, and I'm pretty happy with how this project that I put it into came out. Definitely met my needs of helping me build a lighter stick, even though, you know, you can put it in a full-size stick and stuff like that. And it pretty much does everything you'd want from a modern fighting game PCB. Unless you really need the backwards compatibility with like the PS3 and Xbox 360, there's really no reason to buy the universal fight board over this, saying as somebody who has done that. It pretty much will work with almost all my devices, including my old systems, thanks to, you know, one of these 8-bit though adapters. Not a cheap solution, but you know, it's an added benefit that you can't do with the wireless sticks unless you kind of build like an undammed USB decoder, and then that requires another Brook retro board, and then you got to learn how to solder and all this other stuff, and it's a big pain in the ass. I bought one of these for 20 bucks, and now I can play Super Nintendo and Genesis games. Same way as this thing, which you saw before, which, you know, I did exactly that thing, and made it pretty difficult for myself. This is a way easier solution to get pretty much all of those things, and you know, it has audio on the PS4. Not very loud, so if you're gonna want like an amp or something, if you want high-end audio for your big-ass headphones like me, but that's like problems only ridiculous people like me have. The big problems that I will say for everybody is not being able to power this thing on with 5 volts to have like LEDs in it, or optical joysticks kind of limits some of its uses. And you know, again, it's especially annoying because you don't know when this thing is on. You can walk away from your setup, walk away from your PlayStation, throw it in your bag, and have it accidentally turn on and be dead by the time you get to where you're going, which is really annoying. Especially since the Universal Fight Board, and as far as I know, the PS4 Plus Audio have status adapters that turn on and let you know when it's turned on. If Brook makes a revision of this thing, I would like to see at least something that will show that it is on, and ideally indicators to, you know, reflect that it's in pairing mode, so you can pair it wirelessly to different devices. That's kind of a pie in the sky idea. I know like these things are mostly in opaque cases that nobody will see, so it's not a huge priority. Other problems I did have with it is there's supposed to be a tournament lockout mode where you can hold, I think it says on the Brook site, third kick button, which is the R2 button. As you plug it in to a PlayStation 4, that will prevent it from being paired up with that PlayStation 4. So that's useful if you're going to like locals or a tournament and you're plugging into a whole bunch of different machines. Normally it will pair up with the PS4, and then when you hit the home button, you'll accidentally interrupt somebody else's game and you kind of ruin it for them. You don't want that to happen. I could not, for the hell of me, figure it out. I tried every combination of buttons that I could, and went through the manuals and supports that they have right now. There doesn't seem to be any current firmware updates on their site either, so I don't know what it is. That's probably an issue that can be fixed, but as of now, you know, you do run the risk of turning on somebody else's system, so make sure you disconnect from it if you are connecting to a whole bunch of PS4s, just so you don't accidentally do that. And also, since it's not a button combination to power on, just, you know, the home button, the same way as the PS4, you definitely need a lockout switch, I would say, if you're going to take this anywhere portable, or, you know, you want to at least have your home button recessed somewhere that's not going to accidentally get hit. Because again, you'll just drain your battery by the time you get there. For what it is, I ended up slightly disappointed because it was missing some functionality that I just kind of assumed would be standard. Other than that, it works just as well as all the other Brook fighting boards. It connects to a variety of systems, new and old, with, you know, a little bit of help and finagling. And its latency is really good, so if you want to build a stick and you're thinking about the option of having it wireless, this is way easier than trying to pad hack a you know, wireless controller or anything like that. And it's definitely something that I recommend if you're doing board replacement for an older controller, or you're doing one of your first arcade sticks. It's definitely a good option to keep in mind, especially considering the price difference between like PS4 Plus Audio or anything like that. With that said, I'm gonna go back and enjoy this thing, play it in a whole bunch of different things. If you want to see, you know, this thing getting installed, or played on the PS4 and stuff, there's a couple other reviews I'll link you to check out, because I just don't want to set up my PS4 for recording this video. And if you can see behind me, When I started this thing, it was daytime, and now it's night. So anyway, everyone have a good night. Go play some fighting games, and I'll see you on the next review. Peace.